But then I moved out because when I went to uni, I went to a convent.
Huh?
So
Convent? Like, you're talking about a convent na nuns? Hello, mabuhay! Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Ira Lehman, ang owner and founder ng PhilcomUK.com website. Ang PhilcomUK.com po ay isang online directory ng mga Filipino events, businesses, at organizations dito po sa United Kingdom. At ngayon po may bago po tayong segment sa Philcom UK. Ang tawag po doon ay Philcom Features. Ang Philcom Features po ay isang interview series na kinukwento ang mga adventures or pakikipagsapalaran ng mga kababayan natin na pumunta po dito sa United Kingdom. At ngayon po, sa second episode natin ng Philcom Features, meron po tayong super special guest na I've been very excited and very looking forward to this interview actually. And siya po ay si Atty. Crystal Dias. So si Atty. Dias po has been awarded the 100 most influential Filipinas in the world by the Filipino Women's Network globally noong 2018. And she is also a human rights champion by the Ladies of All Nation, yung Luwani po, in 2019. And of course, as a qualified solicitor, si Atty. Dias po ay nagsa-specialize sa family and immigration law. And syempre, siya din po yung partner sa Dias Solicitors. And kung alam niyo po yung Juan EU Konek, yun po yung program para sa mga overseas Filipino dito po sa Europe and beyond. May online digital platforms po sila and they put out shows regularly. And doon po si Atty. Dias, kasali din po siya as a presenter there. And hindi pa tapos yun, may ginagawa rin po siyang charity work sa Filipino Women's Association at board member din po siya doon. So human rights champion and on a very personal level, champion lang talaga siya. So hello, Miss Dias, Atty. Welcome! Hi!
Oh my goodness, what an introduction. Thank you very much, Ira. Ang galing naman ng introduction.
It's the truth, di ba? It's the truth. So, nothing
Thank you very
hyped up.
much.
It's all facts, attorney. So, okay. So, you've been working as a solicitor here in the United Kingdom for over a decade now, di ba? I think since 2003. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So I qualified as a solicitor in 2003. I worked in a law firm in Croydon. I started off Muna, my
Croydon.
training as Essex, so I was there for 2 years.
Sa
And
Essex.
then they sent me around the country in Sheffield, in
Aba?
Brighton, and eventually
Ano,
they made me a manager there
as trainee
when I
solicitor?
qualified. Yeah, as a
Mm,
solicitor in
mm-hmm,
Croydon,
mm-hmm.
and then yeah, it was since 2003 up to now.
Been practicing.
Good record, clean record. I'm glad that
You've,
to this date I'm still here.
you've never been sued.
Never been sued, thank God. Yeah, touch wood.
Yeah. Okay, so yung family law ba or immigration law has that always been so I'm not familiar with law so you might need to educate me on this. So you obviously studied law dito ba sa UK? Did you study in the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
So
specialized in family law during your
yes,
studies. Okay. So you studied here sa UK pala.
yes. So
Okay.
um, my life started in the UK in 1990.
Mhm.
So when I arrived, I actually went to a comprehensive school. Way back in the Philippines, I went to a private school, but in the UK, it's a comprehensive school.
Ano yung
And
comprehensive school? I don't know that. Ano
you know
yung
what? In the UK, there are different types of schools. So you can go to a grammar school, you
Mm-mm.
can go to a high school, a comprehensive school.
Mhm.
The comprehensive school is like co-ed, it's a mix of boys and
Ah,
girls.
okay.
Um, and it is it was in a place where in the middle of nowhere. It's like a little village, and I did my sixth form there. Then
Mhm.
after that, I went to college. I did my BTech National Diploma in Business and Finance, and it's like equivalent of A levels.
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
means able to go to university.
Mhm.
So I
Ah,
always
okay.
wanted to go to university, you see. So I wanted to be a professional, and I've always wanted to do law
Mm.
because it's something that I've when I was little I've seen my family, they have friends who are solicitors, and I asked them what do they do. They looked so important, so I decided, okay, I want to be like them. So I pursued it. I worked hard for it. I went to University of London, so the School of Oriental and African Studies.
Mhm.
That's in London, and
SOAS
yeah,
yun ba yun? SOAS sila, di ba? Is that what they're called?
SOAS,
SOAS, yeah.
yes,
SOAS, okay.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was a 3-year course, and I enjoyed it very much because it actually the course involved learning different types of law. So it's not just English law, ethnic minority law,
Mhm.
Japanese law, Chinese law, Islamic law. Unfortunately, Philippine law, they didn't have Philippine studies then at the time.
Mhm.
But
This was
I've
early,
met,
this was late 90s or early noughties.
it was 1993.
Early 90s,
1993.
yeah, wala. So I don't
Yes,
think wala
early.
pang, the awareness around Philippines in general wasn't as prominent back then, I won't think.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, when I arrived nga dito sa UK, I didn't know many Filipinos. My mom settled in a place where it's all, English people. So I didn't know anyone except when I actually went to SOAS, I met a Filipina. And we got on so well. Even to date, we're still in touch. But my friends, they're from different backgrounds. So British, Indians, different Asians, Africans, Taiwanese, Koreans, Japanese. So it's very mixed. So it really opened up my eyes because when I was little, before I came here, I lived a sheltered life.
Where
My
did
mom was working
where did you grow up in the Philippines pala, attorney?
in Manila.
In
Yeah,
Manila. Saan doon?
Manila in Caloocan.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
but we moved around, you see. So
Ha.
I remember growing up in Caloocan, then Quezon City, and so on.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
my mom was a business person. She had different businesses, and
Mhm.
um, and while she was working, I had a nanny. So my nanny was doing everything for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As you know what how it goes, like in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Philippines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then when I came here, my mom actually sat me down and said, Crystal, you're going to have to clean your room. You're going to have to hoover. You're going to have to do the washing. And I was in
Ah.
shock. It was a culture shock. I was like, what? I have to do everything? And that was, being a teenager, it's
Mhm.
kind of like, wow, this is a new thing for me. But then I moved out because when I went to uni, I went to a convent.
Huh?
So I
Convent?
yes,
Like you're
because my
talking about a
mom
convent, yung mga nuns?
with nuns because they had this place in Houston, near Houston Station, which is basically at the back of the fire station, and there is at the time it's called Saint Philomena's. So
Mhm.
there is a place where you can rent out a little room,
Mhm.
and it's run by nuns. So my mom, being a practicing Catholic, she felt really sick, felt relieved and sick, and knowing that I'm
That
safe.
you're kasama ka ng
I'm
mga
looked after
madre. You're
by
safe.
none.
You stay holy, mga ganon.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, so I had to fend for myself. I had to look after myself. I had to do everything. But my mom was so good. She's always there for me. She cooked for me for the whole week, and made sure I had enough food for the week. And even when I met my husband, I met my Christopher, my husband, at uni. She was also cooking for him, so we shared our food. So it was very interesting because I felt independent. So going to uni really opened up my eyes. It's a whole new world, you
Mm.
know.
Did you have, so
Uh,
was it far away from where you lived then, from your home?
I lived in Kent. I live in Kent now, but
Mm. Growing
it
up,
was just
yeah.
every weekend. I would go home to bring home my
Mm-hmm.
laundry and
Mm-hmm.
whatever to do my homework at home, and then Sunday night I would go back
Mm-hmm.
to my accommodation. So it was really exciting time of my life. I really enjoyed it,
Mm-hmm.
but I was not involved with the Filipino community then. For three
Really?
years, yeah, for 3 years I learned so much about the world. You
About?
know, uh, about the world. It's like knowing different types of people. There's so many people out there. I thought it was only Americans, but then
Mm.
with being in SOAS, meeting all these different
Yeah.
people, it
Open
was
the
just really an eye opener. It's
broaden
amazing.
your horizon. And it's funny you say that akala mo mga kano lang yung nasa ibang bansa. Kasi still the majority of the Filipinos who you meet on the street, akala nila pag foreigner ka, ano ka, Amerikano ka, 'di ba? That's kind of like
Correct.
the perception that they have. And then pag sinabi mong taga Belgium yan or taga Luxembourg, so, ano yan? Parang ganun ba? There's still like an element of that. So it's funny that you say that. I mean, not now. Now everyone's connected and it's easy to just get information online. Pero we're talking about the 90s here. Early notice, wala pang
Yes.
internet nun. So
Well,
like literally overseas is USA, di ba? For us or majority of the Filipinos, di ba?
yes. Okay.
Yeah. And
But
so,
I
yeah.
didn't realize that Filipinos arrived in the 1970s.
Yeah,
Most
early.
majority of them,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So they worked in hotels, in the hospitality
Mm-hmm.
sector, even the NHS then already.
The healthcare, yeah.
It was easier then to come over in the 70s and even the 90s, to come to the UK. But I didn't know many in the 1990s. And
Mm-hmm.
in fact, when I went to school, my school, they didn't know where Philippines was. So they asked me, "Are you from Mongolia?" I said, I
Mongol.
said,
And did you
Mongolia,
even know
or
what?
Chinese, or where is Philippines? So they didn't even know where Philippines was.
So you're
So
like as exotic as it got back then. You must have been.
yeah, yeah.
Huh?
Even my husband actually calls me. I look exotic.
Well, you do. You
It's
do.
it's just making fun of me,
It's
really.
hair, a bit of a
Yeah.
hair flip, and yeah, I am. so, so you came here as a teenager, no?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that must have been a crucial time because we're talking about puberty age. How was that? How was that journey from Manila, Caloocan, Quezon City, Philippines, to Kent
Mhm.
in the United Kingdom as a young lady, teenager? Hormones are firing up, and you don't know anyone, and I'm sure there was an element of a cultural shock there. So how was that experience like with school, boys,
Mhm.
the lot? How was it?
Oh, you're absolutely right there. I we were we kind of felt we were in a different world altogether. Because say when you're a teenager, growing up, in a different country, it's like rebooting your life again. As if you're born again, you're starting your life
Mm-hmm.
again, and learning the ropes, and meeting new people in the school that I went to. I mean, people then, that they kind of like were wary of the kids there. They were wary of me, of my sister, because my sister, I have one sibling, so we went to the same school, and
Mm-hmm.
they were kind of like looking at us. Some were friendly, and that was good. So we got to know some people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when I went to college, I also met a good friend, and we're still in touch today. She's English, and
Mm-hmm.
every year we would talk. So for over 30 years, we've been friends. So that's good. Um, but it was hard because I couldn't understand the accent.
British
Kent accent
accent.
is different from the British accent, because
Uh,
that the accents in the UK. So
mm.
a Kent accent is actually quite strong as well. So
May
I couldn't
accent din sa
understand.
Ken. May accent pala sa Kent. I didn't know. Ah, okay.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's similar to Essex accent.
Ay, sus, okay. Hirap nun ah. I don't
Yeah.
understand Essex either. Oh, sige.
Yeah. So like the things like they say when they say thank you, they would say ta ta, you know. Yeah. So have you got right? You all right? every morning when I go to school, you all right? You all right? Yes, yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Parang yun yung hello nila, yung bati nila. You're right. Oo.
Yeah.
Okay, so how's like you must have had curious looks, no? When you started going to school, obviously being the only Asian. Ikaw lang ba yung Asian dun sa
The
class mo
only the
before?
only Asian in that school. No, it's just me and my sister. And the first day I remember we had to go to our own class and you're looking at which room and all of that, and my sister, I don't know, I should say this, but she couldn't find her room and she cried,
Mhm.
because nobody was telling her where to go.
Mhm.
And and it's sad actually thinking about it that people, most of the kids, they were more curious
Mhm.
than anything, but not really knowing whether to talk to us or help us. But yeah, it was very hard in the beginning. um with regard to boys, I didn't have any boyfriend then
Ooh,
because
totoo ba yan?
a long
Totoo ba
distance
yan? I don't believe that.
relationship with someone who's in America, but that's finished. But I was
Is Chris
concentrating on
listening?
my.
Is Chris listening?
No, yeah, yeah. But he
Shh.
knew about it. He knew about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was before Chris. This was still
Yeah.
at school. But I
Yeah.
met Chris at uni, as I said,
Uh-huh.
and we our journeys together, Chris and I, they were parallel. So we both went to SOAS. We went to this University of Law, before it's called College of Law. So we did a legal practice course together,
Mm.
and we our training contracts, we had it eventually. I mean, that alone is another hurdle, because getting a training contract, which you need to be able to qualify as a solicitor, it's like finding gold dust. It's really, really difficult.
Ano yung training contract? Do you have to apply for it? Parang magjo-job interview ka? Parang ganun ba yun? Or do you get
So
selected?
basically, you need to have a work experience, a legal experience
Ah,
in a law firm, and
okay.
then they tell the law society whether or not you have completed your training.
Parang practicum for
So
lawyers ba? Parang ganun.
yeah,
Mhm.
changed now, but I mean they keep changing the system. But at that time, it was really hard to get. But I had to become a paralegal first.
Oh.
Uh, and with a view to training contract. So I was a paralegal for a while. When I started my legal career after uni, and after the legal practice course, I I worked as a secretary.
Mhm.
I took a year off because there's something happening at home. I
Mhm.
had to help out at home because my mom's husband, at the time, he was ill. He had cancer, so I was helping out. Eventually, he died, and then when he passed away, then I actually continued my law career, and I eventually found a training contract. So when I finished that 2 year period, so you start off with 3 years law law degree, then 1 year legal practice course,
Mhm.
then 2 years training contract, then you qualify as a solicitor. So it's actually quite a long journey.
Mhm.
Um, and you know, I think when I qualified as a solicitor, that was it. I thought I was set. This is me. I've made it.
Mhm.
And in fact, um, I was the first one in my family to have a law degree, um, and the first one to qualify as a professional,
What do you
and the
mean?
first one
What do you mean for to qualify as a professional? What do you mean
like
by that?
as a solicitor,
Like with a person with a degree in general or?
yeah, with a degree. Yeah,
Talaga?
with a degree.
You're the
Yeah.
first one na nakatapos sa
I'm the
family
first
niyo?
one. Yes. Yeah. Even though my
Wow.
mom, she worked hard. She's always in
Ah.
business. but she's always made sure that she looked after her family.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, but for me, education is very important. So that's why I joined FWA UK, because
Mhm.
I believe in its core objective. So
Mhm.
education, education, education. For me, I cannot say it enough. It's very important.
Mhm.
And my mom inculcated in me to become independent, to be strong, to be uh, to do what you want to do, and I did that. So when I decided that I would like to be someone, a professional, I did it. You know, I've had many vicissitudes in life, but I was determined. I want to be someone. I want to not actually satisfied being just a professional, but to be an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So I decided to have my own business.
Mhm. So after
That's why
you qualified to become a
yeah.
solicitor, were you working for a couple of years in other firms?
I worked for a few years. I was actually a property lawyer, so I wasn't an immigration lawyer at the time.
Mhm. So
So I
when you study law, do you have to decide on an area of specialty? I don't know what the right term for that is. Like you would, for example, sa medicine, di ba, pwede kang mag-cardiologist or oncologist. May ganun ba sa law?
well in law it's more general. So you
So English law
actually
yung...
everything you have to study everything. So when I did the
Mm,
legal practice course,
mm,
I had an option to do either commercial
mhm.
or immigration family. I chose all of them. So I was also into commercial. I
Yeah,
had to do
okay.
all of them.
Mhm,
And then with the training, I after that, when I became a paralegal, I got into property. I went to court. I used to do repossession litigation. So I used to,
uy, ano yun? Ay, that's interesting. Ano yun?
yeah,
Yung...
basically, I used to act for lenders. When
Mm,
at that time, this was in 1998 when there was a recession.
mhm.
People were losing their houses because they were not able to afford to pay their
Yeah,
mortgages. So the lenders would issue court proceedings, and I will then attend the court to represent the lender.
okay.
And sometimes instead of like the court order would then be granted, and then the house would be sold off. It would be repossession sale, so it would be
Mhm,
sent to another department to sell the
mhm,
property, or there would be an agreement between the lender and the property owners that they would start paying their mortgage again. Otherwise,
ganun pala.
otherwise, yeah, they'll forfeit
Uh-huh.
their house.
Ito
So I
pala,
did that for a while.
yeah. Stupid question,
So I went to
attorney,
court.
ha?
I went to court.
Yeah, stupid question. And I'm really so curious about this. Di ba dito sa UK, yung mga abogado, may wig? Yung white. Do you have one? Do you have one? Did you have to wear one? At saka bakit may wig? Can you
I
explain,
know. Well,
please?
let me explain. Okay. So dito sa UK, there are two types of lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
So you have what is called a solicitor, and I'm a solicitor, and
Mm-hmm.
you have a barrister. So a
Mm-hmm.
barrister, what they do, they go to court all the time, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So those who go to court, yung mga nasa high court, like in criminal cases, they do wear wigs. I don't wear that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so usually
that's
yung mga barrister lang yung nagwi-wig, yun. Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay, got
yes,
it. I always
but not
wondered why.
solicitors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm. I always wondered. But solicitors can still represent you in court, tama ba?
yes. So, like
Mm.
for example, uh, the litigation, repossession litigation. So you can do advocacy. You can go to the county court, and
Mm.
also what I'm doing now when I switched specialty from property to immigration, you can go to tribunal. So
Mm.
tribunal, basically when a case has been refused by the Home Office and then they appeal it,
Mm.
then you go to the tribunal to
Mm.
fight it out there
Mm.
in front of a judge.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So you can do.
So you did property law for a couple of years, right? And then
Yes.
at what point, I know you eventually moved on to setting up your own law firm. Pero
Mhm.
what made you make that decision? What was the trigger for that move? Kasi it's,
Mhm.
it's a life-changing decision, 'di ba? To
It
just
is.
go
Yeah.
at it on your own and set up your own shop, with anything, not just necessarily a law firm, but setting up a business, 'di ba? Um, so can you share yung experience mo doon and what was going through your head? What was the motivation and how easy
Oh,
was
yeah.
it? How easy was it to open up a law firm?
I
Noong
never.
ano ba yung 2008 pa yun? Tama ba?
It was 2008,
Before
and
ng
that was
credit
at the
crunch
time.
pa, 'di
It
ba?
it was actually in the middle of the credit crunch. It
Yeah.
was a
So
recession.
kwento,
Recession was happening at the time.
what
But basically, when in 2000, so 2003, I qualified. So I started off doing property
mhm.
until 2007, when I decided actually I've done it for a very long time now. I want to do something else because it seems like I'm at the end. I'm not going to go anywhere else. I won't be considered for partnership or anything like that. And I wanted to be in control. And doing property law, I've done it, for so long, that I know it. There's nothing else that would kind of made it more interesting for me. But then setting up my own business became a necessity because in
Necessity.
2007, from then on, 2008, um, um, recession hit UK. So I was made redundant, and I was going to leave anyway. But being made redundant, I thought this would be the
For
right
you.
time for me. And we had something saved up. And my husband, while he in fact we were working in the same firm, he was showing me immigration work as well. So I think it's time, because there were not many Filipino solicitors who were actually doing immigration. They were, I know a few immigration advisors, but not really doing any other apart from immigration, because I was also doing, I thought I can do family as well. So I was looking on the Law Society website how to set up your own law firm, and what do you need? A room, an insurance. First day
Desk.
of my, yeah, one desk, one phone, one chair, and in a very small it was serviced building in a small room. I started Dias Solicitors. So it
Saan?
was just me. I didn't partner with anyone. I said to my husband, "You join me," because we decided, okay, I will join you because I will need to give my 3-month notice, because he was working as well. He was already established himself. He had his own immigration department within the firm.
Mhm.
But he said, okay, I will join you because I would want to be part of this.
Yeah.
But it was me who decided, okay, I will do everything. And for the first 3 months, it's just me. So what I did, I advertised on the Filipino news magazines, uh, and I met someone who would help me with advertising,
Mhm.
marketing. So I
Mhm.
paid an online radio, Filipino online radio, and I had my own segment, called Immigration, Usapang Immigration. So I did that
Mhm.
for 9 years. And eventually I got to know the Filipino leaders, within the community in London. And
Mhm.
at that point, Ira, that's when again I was introduced into the Filipino culture, if you like, because
Mhm.
since I arrived in the UK in 1990, uh, up until 2008, I didn't know anyone at all.
Mhm.
So it was my work involved. Uh, involved dealing with British people, English people. It was property transactions, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got involved with the Filipino community in London, that again opened up my eyes into reintroducing my Filipino roots. So
Reminding
it
you
was
really of where you came from. Ganon.
right, yeah. I
Uh-uh.
mean, actually, I know more Filipinos than my mom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The, so
You're.
it was amazing. Since
Mm-hmm.
then, it's I worked hard, and it was recognized. And my last year for me, the defining moment, really, icing on the cake, I would say, is that when the Law Society nominated my firm for the Law Society Excellence Award, and
Mm-hmm.
my firm was shortlisted for the Small Law Firm of the Year in
Of the
2020.
year. Just last
Yes.
year. Oh,
Just last year.
congratulations.
We
That's a
didn't
big.
win, but being shortlisted is still, it's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I know. Just, yeah, being shortlisted.
Yeah,
It's a big deal from the Law
it was.
Society. Where did you open shop pala, attorney, when you first set up the business or the firm? Sa London. Were you based in London then?
It
Non?
was we that was a big point for us because my husband and I thought of we talked about where we're going to open our first office, whether locally or in London. But we thought many Filipinos actually live in London. They're based in London. A lot of our businesses were in London, so it had to be central. And the
Mm-hmm.
first one was in Russell Square. So we
Russell
were
Square.
there, Russell Square, which was opposite my old university, SOAS. So it's just
Mm.
across the park.
Yeah, yeah, familiar with the area.
Yeah,
Malapit sa British Museum yun, di ba?
correct.
Uh,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So my first day there, and then for that week, I was relaxed. Okay, you just take it easy. People will come. Clients will come, and they did. But I did get the time to enjoy it, like go to British Museum, go to the West End, which is again a walking distance, and it was great. It was great. I loved it. But then we had to move a few times because the landlord is issue with the landlord and everything. We then moved to Chinatown. That was one
Mm.
of our best office. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just next to the fire station in Chinatown. So
I
we
I
were in
thought
Chinatown
I thought you were
every
gonna
day.
say I thought you were gonna say sa malapit siya sa mga Chinese restaurants.
Yeah,
Lots of
well,
food
actually,
places like okay.
lunchtime you have like Chinese all the time, every day. So we were there for a couple of years, and then we moved to Covent Garden.
Covent
We were
Garden.
there for 5 years, and then we moved to now in Holborn, in Grace Inn Road,
Holborn. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
basically the legal hub. Where
Mm-hmm.
many law firms are based. And as I know, I'm the only one, a Filipino lawyer who's based in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Kasi yung
and we've been there 5 years now. Yeah.
yeah. Kasi yung Holborn kasi it's more city na, di ba? That's London City
Yes. Yeah.
already. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been serving the Filipino community since 2008. Well, since you founded Dias Solicitors, um, you must have like yung mga top three requests na yung mga nanghihingi ng tulong. They must have like similar cases all the time. Have you come across na yung mga top three cases na always ikaw yung tinatanong? May mga ganun ba? Have you experienced that?
Yes. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I didn't really let go of my Philippine roots because knowing quite a lot of Filipinos at the time came here as domestic workers from the Middle East. When I was at uni, um, I wrote a dissertation about domestic workers and their rights. So
Talaga?
when they came here, yeah, I had the 2-1 writing that. I actually got involved with Kalayaan. And
Kalayaan.
because at that time, 1996, a lot of domestic workers, when they came to UK, they didn't have visas. They had visitor visas
Oh,
when
really?
they were
Kahit
accompanied
even though they were
their
working here?
Yes, when they were accompanying their employers, they only had visitor visa. But as you know, visitor visa, you're not allowed to work.
Uy,
Um,
so bawal pala yun.
yeah, and
Eh.
when Tony Blair, it was the Labour Party who actually introduced the concession to
Uh-huh.
protect the rights of domestic workers, because domestic workers in the UK, what happened that they were abused by their employers, mostly from the Middle East. So they had to do something. They couldn't run away from them because their passports were being held. You know, they were kept. They were the passports were kept from them, so they can't leave. The employer,
Wait,
they
hold
were
on.
not paid
It's not
properly.
it's not legal to just keep someone
It's
else's.
illegal.
It's illegal, diba? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay.
Yeah, so it's absolutely illegal. They're not paid properly, um, not even meeting the minimum wage. They're not allowed holidays. They're not allowed to speak to their family. They were sleeping on the floor. So all of that, I felt passionate about that. I needed to do something about it. So when I set up my law firm, of course, I had that type of clients, domestic workers coming to me for help. But going back, when in 1998 they introduced the concession, so they were then allowed to work, and then eventually, I think 2000, they were given the proper visa. It's now called domestic worker in a private household, and they were
There's a
given
specific
more
visa for
rights.
that. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I know the person who actually campaigned for it. She's
Mm,
one of the Filipino leaders. Quite a few Filipinos. Kalayaan is one of the prominent groups who actually initiated campaign for the rights of domestic workers.
mm-hmm,
So, and I was happy, because now they can stay, they can change employers, they can actually settle in the country after 5 years.
mm-hmm,
But much to my disappointment, on the 5th of April 2012, they changed the rules. So that's now gone. They can only stay for 6 months, and after 6 months, they've got to leave again. They've got to go home or live with their employer.
mm-hmm,
So again, now there's more problems because they with the employers, they want to keep their employer, so it's employee domestic workers in the country, but they couldn't because they need them. Some of them have been working for them for many years, 12 years, and then suddenly, just like that, because they moved back into the country, they can't stay for more than 6 years. So what we've actually applied to the court to extend their stay. It was refused. We went to court and we got the visa on the basis of exceptional circumstances. So that, and we represented uh, um, a client was a solicitor, a partner in one of the big city firms. So, he was very, very happy because, they had a big family, they needed help, and he was unwell, and when we won the case, that was amazing for us. So I'm continuing on to fight for the rights of the domestic workers. And unfortunately, as I said, that the rules changed, but the UK has introduced an act, a law to protect them. And basically, if some of the domestic workers were abused by their own employers, what they now call them as victim of modern slavery.
modern slavery.
So
Ayun ba yung Modern
modern
Slavery Act?
slavery, due to domestic servitude. So with that, where now, I have clients coming in to see me, explaining their situation, what happened to them. So we refer them to a first responder, to Salvation Army. So they assess the domestic worker, and then and if they think that she was potentially a victim of of modern slavery, then they would refer it to the Home Office. So, but that is taking forever. the whole process is now taking at least 2 years to be dealt with by the Home Office. So it's a major change in that law. Domestic workers before they had the right to stay here, to settle here, even with their family. In 2000, from 1998, 2000, it was made official, and then they changed it back as it was before in 2012. So
Mhm.
now there's a campaign by these charitable groups like Kalaya and even Kanlungan to bring back the old rules. So
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
Kanlungan
But
is also a strong advocate, I know, for domestic workers here. But I'm just honestly, I'm just shocked to hear that. When was this? When did this happen? Just 10 years ago, or is it still happening now? That what are we? 2021. Say it was like 5 years ago. Yeah, 2015. That these things still happen. They shouldn't. It's just wrong. And I'm really shocked to hear na may ganung cases pa
it's
rin.
when the rules changed in 2012, many domestic workers came to me asking for help now. So it's either because they want to stay with the employers or because they were a victim of abuse from they're victim of modern slavery. Because they had abusive employers. So it's still happening now. And actually, I've got quite a few cases now. I think I've got about five that I've referred to the Salvation Army because
Mhm.
it's still happening. And I don't
Mhm.
think it would stop. It's a perennial problem. So I just
Mhm.
hope that the government will do something about it.
Mhm. I mean, what are they
Mm.
actually actively doing to prevent that from? I know there is this Modern Slavery Act, but I
Yeah.
mean, if these things still happen, how effective is that act? You can argue, right?
Well, this is the thing, people if you've actually come to the UK and you still have a valid visa, and then you claim straight away that you're a victim of modern slavery, you can work. You can continue to work until your case has been decided by the Home Office.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that could take 2 years at least just to say you are a victim of modern slavery. But with that, it's not enough. It doesn't actually regularize your stay or give you a visa. You have to make a separate application to the Home Office to extend your stay in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone, it's quite uh, also it's hard to prove, because even though you are a victim of modern slavery, that you've been concluded as one, they would ask, why can you not go back home to the Philippines?
Yeah,
You see, because
yeah, that's a legit question. Why can you not go back home?
yeah, yeah. So, and don't go back to your old employer. Don't go back to Middle East. Because that's where they were from. I mean, initially working from, and that's a good question, as you said. But a lot of Filipinos, as you know, they work abroad to look after their family, to send money back home. So it's like if I go back home, I've got nothing there. My children will starve, my family will starve. But so all of that, you can you know reason that to the Home Office, but whether or not the Home Office will accept that is another matter, isn't
Hmm.
it?
That's very
Yeah.
heartbreaking to learn that people actually are willing to put up with abuse just to help their family. That's really sad.
Yeah.
And sorry, naiyak ako. Oh my god, that's so sad. I need to cut this. It's quite unexpected. Nakakaiyak naman
Yeah.
siya. How do you deal with these cases?
Oh well, it is hard. Yeah, it is hard. But then I had a Kalayaan came to me, and this is even more heartbreaking, Ira. A 40-year-old domestic worker. Um, she was abused apparently by her employer. She didn't tell anyone. She had cancer and she died alone. And this was just 2 weeks ago. She left three children, an aging mother. She had 160 pounds. Yeah. And
How did you
because
how how
she
did you how
worked
did you
hard.
know about this? May nagsumbong or did they come to you for help?
told me. Yeah.
Mm.
And then
Mhm.
I got in touch with the embassy to help this lady to return home to her family.
Mm.
Yeah. So it is hard. I mean, it's you know that it's out there. The situation is out there, but there's only so much you can do to help them. And that's why I do what I do, you
Mm.
know?
Mm. I guess it's important being, their law advocate for them, that you really have to be obviously not just mentally strong, but emotionally strong as well. Because I don't know how you deal with that, but just listening to the story is so heartbreaking.
Do you know what? My office has got boxes of tissues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It is,
on the other side, if you do manage to see it through and help people, it must be so rewarding for you.
yeah, it is
Diba?
rewarding. It
Mm-hmm.
is, um, you know, Filipinos are resilient. They'll do anything for their family, for their children, and they don't think of themselves. All they can think about is to make sure that their children will have something uh, on their table, to make sure they go to school, that they have gifts during, Christmas and their birthdays. So all of that is very stressful, you know, to be in that situation where you're the breadwinner, where not only to look after your children, but to look after your parents, your aging parents. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, the story is very common in the Philippines, right? I mean, the stories I've heard from these ladies, even the children were hurting them, you know, the young
The
ones,
children's the employees'
the
children.
employees. Yeah, yeah. So,
Mm.
and they're not given food. They eat somewhere else. They're paid what, £100 per month, where they're meant to be paid the minimum wage.
It's not even
You
minimum
know,
wage, but 24/7 yan sila.
yeah.
They have
And
to
they
be.
work 7 days. I mean, they work every day. Their holidays is like one day a month. That's all given to them.
Ani
That
weekend, wala. Wala ding weekend break.
no, they work on weekends, and they start from 6 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning, until
What?
everyone's asleep. Yeah, that's long hours. She literally had like 4 hours sleep. You know.
What?
Yep.
So, you know, it takes someone to actually flag that for it to actually come to
Yeah.
surface. Because otherwise, it will
I'm
keep on
so glad.
happening, Dima.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
yeah. We have many, many groups in the UK, Filipino
Mm.
groups like the Voices of Domestic Workers. You have Kalayaan, you have Kanlungan. Different domestic worker groups in the UK that I know. They're very much present in the social media,
Mm.
and in fact, FWA, they had a forum in 2019, uh, um, that was called um, modern modern slavery, domestic workers from the Middle East. So we had Kalayaan, we had the police, and another lady from a group, and they were, presenting, to, I think, at least 30 people were there, who attended the forum. So they were talking about the experiences of different victims. Yeah.
And just
And
to
that was
raise awareness, no, about the issue.
just raising awareness. The
Mm.
other groups were invited, like the Voice of Domestic Workers, so that
Mm.
the leader turned up as well, sharing their experiences. So that was good. It's raising awareness. It's very important
Mm-hmm.
because it's happening. It's still happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad. Really sad. But sometimes I think people just they just make that tough decision, right? And they don't really care or have no regard for their own being, really, just because they're so dedicated to helping their family. Na parang whatever it takes na lang, no? 'Di ba? They go
Yeah.
through extreme lengths, pero at what price? It's just really sad to
Mm.
see na they're just gonna take whatever they can get, no matter how much it hurts them for the sake of fighting for the family. Yeah,
Yes.
sad realities of life. Anyway, on a lighter topic, attorney, I know that you are also a presenter sa Juan EU Konek, diba? And you're actually actively covering the the updates or the progress, if you can call it that, of the pandemic within the Filipino community. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, so I started. I joined Juan EU Connect into
Okay.
2018. We were filming every month, but since the pandemic in 2020, it kind of it was halted because of the virus. So we were having problems filming, but we were persevering. We wanted to put a story together so that people would know what's happening during the pandemic. And we've been granted national lottery funding, and we're so grateful for that because it made it all possible for us to carry out with this project called Contra Corona.
Contra
And it's a
Corona.
Contra Corona, and it was a six-part docu-series, and we've now shown the fifth episode, and the last episode will be next month. So basically, all throughout the 6-month period, we were showing our COVID warriors, our heroes, Filipino heroes, those who died of the virus, and um, those who survived it. So I interviewed someone. In fact, he was working for a hospital, and he was in the ITU for 51 days.
Yeah.
He was a strong man.
I saw that
But
episode. I saw that
yes, I
episode.
mean,
Yeah.
he was all over. GMA covered it. It was like 12 million viewers. But I'm so lucky that he lives down the road. So he's like 10 minutes away from me.
Right.
So, and he knows my mom, and I approached him, and the family is so lovely, and it's just really showing his story, how he survived it, but also showing those families who were left behind by the victims, the frontliners, how difficult it was to go through all of that. Suddenly, your loved ones leaving you due to the virus, and the children also being left with no mother, no father.
Mm-hmm.
So but also this resilience of the Filipinos. We
Yeah.
have this community spirit as well. We were helping each other during the peak of the pandemic. Different groups around within the community, they were giving out food. They were delivering food to different hospitals for the staff working there. It was amazing. It really was amazing. And then I went to Wales to see this nursing home full of Filipinos working there. Loads of frontliners again, carers. Most of them came from Europe. So they moved here. They set up a new life. So it was really good. So it's still ongoing, and I'm grateful to the producer and the team because they're so amazing. Because they like to tell stories of our kababayans in the UK. Still ongoing. We do have a live stream also on Sundays,
Is that every Sunday
twice a
that you
month.
do live streams, right? Is it a regular schedule? Every Sunday ba yun? Yung sa One You?
Yeah, so 1 o'clock on the first week and the second week of every month. Then we have a break as we were doing the filming. Then the last Sunday of the month where we show our episode.
And I just want to go back to what you mentioned earlier, yung resilience. I think that was the word that I've been looking for because I had the same discussion with Niel, then my previous guest, about Filipinos. No matter how quirky we are as people, there's one thing that we all share in common, and that's really yung resilience, yung being able to persevere through hardship. And I hear that time and time again with all these crazy stories about, like the one you just shared, for example, really got me super emotional. But there's still there. And itong corona na to, it also highlight yung our spirit ba sa Filipino, which is kayanin natin and help each other. It's just so a resilient focus. I guess if you go to history, ang dami nagsakop sa atin, di ba? So we I think that mentality came from that, I think. Kasi I noticed that when I went back home during Christmas, abutan kami ng bagyo. So obviously, you know, when there's a typhoon, everything's just wiped out. Yung buong subdivision, lahat ng mga puno naputol, yung buong streets, puno-puno ng you know, the trees and the leaves that were just, you know, they just collapsed. Tapos, pagkatapos ng bagyo, next day, lahat sila lumabas, yung mga tao sa subdivision. And you know what, they were singing, they were like, you know, whistling, tapos nagwawalis-walis lang sila, but they're like in such a cheerful mood that, wow, where's this, like, you know, where's your spirit coming from? And, you know, sometimes I forget that, na, kasi you've been living here for quite some time, and parang, you know, that influence or that spirit, you don't tend to live that anymore kasi iba yung environment. And that's why I always make it a point to come back home. Kasi it grounds you, it reminds you really of who you are. Yung mga ganong bagay ba, hindi mo makukuha dito. Yung, the resilience, I really like that word. I really like that you mentioned that kasi I definitely agree na it's something that we all Filipinos share. Lalo na kung yung calamities, yung mga ganun ba, magaling, I don't want to say magaling, but you know, have a strong spirit to deal with that as a community, as people. So and I really like now you actually get to feature that through Juan EU Konek, diba? You feature the many different versions of the Filipino resilience, if you like, throughout the whole pandemic.
I think in Tagalog term that would be bayanihan.
Bayanihan,
right?
yeah.
But I like when One Connect actually said bayani, because we have a lot of heroes, bayani. And then when you add the word han, bayanihan, it's a completely different word, you know, it's the community spirit,
Actually,
so that's really good.
Because bayani is hero, diba? Bayani is hero, but bayanihan, you know, it's, I think, a combination with the word bayan, which is like town, community. I think, I'm just guessing.
Community. No, I think you're right. Community, right?
Yeah. Okay, attorney, did you believe that we've been chatting for over an hour? I barely noticed. Ang sarap ng kwentuhan natin, but it's over an hour, so I think it's time to wrap up. And I really like, you know, the story of you being this adventurous young lady coming into the UK, not knowing anyone, being the only Asian in school. I'm sure you've been, you know, getting all the curious looks, but you mentioned that you really had this vision in your head that you wanted to be someone, a professional, diba? And that transpired to become a solicitor, a lawyer. Kasi you were small, you were so impressed with people who were lawyers, and you thought, gusto ko yan, diba? And then from a small child up until, you know, you actually entered university, you had that vision in your head na pupursue ko talaga to the point na you made your family proud to be the first person or the first family member na nakatapos talaga ng college education. I think it's quite a big deal because in the Philippines, it's not given. Education is not free. Education is not. It's a luxury for us, diba? So we really value that, and yeah, well, of course, I'm sure you made your mom proud there, and then did a few years as practice as a solicitor, diba? Until you finally found the courage to set up your own law firm, which was 13 years ago na, diba? So very impressive yung background and history mo. What would you, for someone who's now thinking of doing a similar thing, not necessarily open up a law firm, but siguro, who knows, diba? Who knows? Because, you know, parami na ng parami yung mga Pilipino pumupunta dito. And of course, more and more people will need help. Like within a legal capacity, diba? Maybe they're thinking of setting up their own law firm, or not necessarily a law firm, but consulting firm, or setting up their own business during this day and age. Kasi I think when you set up shop, it was in the middle of the credit crunch then, diba? So I think you can compare that to the times now we're in pandemic and businesses are closing and you're not even allowed to see people, what would you advise someone who's contemplating on whether to go ahead or not? And if they find the courage to do so, ano yung advice mo sa kanila, attorney?
So I would say that set your goal from early days, from the moment you decided, okay, when you're studying, I want to be this. And that's what I've always wanted to do, to have my own business. And going for it, you have to make sure that you have the know-how, you have the skills, you have the work experience, you have the education background, because with all those things, you will become successful. Running a business is on a daily basis. It's like a learning process. So you learn that as you go along. So I would say in this pandemic, maybe it's not the right time to set it up because as you said, you can't really liaise with people you would want to talk to help you set up your law firm. But the law sector is evolving. You can start off as a consultant. You can join a firm and know the environment, how it works,
Gain
so you can
experience.
then become a consultant, because you will become self-employed anyway. And then you can do it with other law firms as well, so you don't have to do it in one law firm, but you can do it with several law firms. So when the time is right to set up your law firm or any business, or like as you said, like immigration consultancy, for example, then you have the experience already. You can set it up, you can go for it. For me, i I champion, I promote people going for what they believe they can do. I support them. In fact, in my law firm, I have a couple of trainee solicitors. One who's already an engineer, but he wants to become a qualified solicitor, and a young lady who I met during a beauty pageant. But she wanted to become. She's a
Yeah.
beauty queen, and she's so beautiful and very brainy.
Beauty and brains,
But
huh?
she's very passionate of what we do. So she's a trainee solicitor, and I want to be able to contribute towards their goal of becoming a solicitor or even setting up their own business. I
Mm.
support that. So being brave, I don't know, maybe, but as long as you know that you can make it, because you can do it, you have the experience, the skills, the knowledge, then go for it.
Mhm, mhm.
Then everything else will follow.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's sound advice, and it's a given. You really have to know your craft. You have to be an expert because if if you want to establish yourself as the go-to person, at the very least, you should know what you're doing, diba? Just to be able to serve your customers. Well, really. Anyway, well, thank you so much for making the time, attorney. Really appreciate it, and I know you're busy. So really, it's really an honor to speak with you today and for making the time for this beautiful, beautiful
Oh,
interview.
well,
Next,
thanks for asking me.
yeah.
It's my pleasure, and it's so nice speaking to you, Ira, because I've heard of you from FWA and meeting you in person. You're so nice, and you're very clever. Your technical know-how is just, unbelievable.
I try.
So
I
yeah.
try. Anyway, before I let you go, attorney, one last request. I know you're not quite familiar with the concept of hugot lines, diba? It's a quirk of mine. I really love them. It's like dad jokes, but more pickup lines. But it's a play on words. Then if you understand Filipino humor, they really like their play on words. And
Okay.
oh, parang ganun siya. So I'm gonna give you one. So you're not familiar. So next time, you can have you can collect. Uh, you can have a collection of hugot lines. So attorney, sana cardiologist ka na lang.
Me, a cardiologist? Bakit?
Para ikaw na lang mag-aalaga sa puso ko.
I love it.
Okay.
Oh,
Thanks so
how do you
much.
translate that? How do you translate that in English? Because my husband is British and he doesn't understand
Yeah.
Tagalog.
Yeah. No.
It's not the same. I love Filipino words. You can,
Yeah.
you can play with the words together.
Yeah. And they're,
I
they're,
love it.
they're funny, but sometimes they translate in English. You just really have to get the mentality and the humor. Pero yun lang, kababawan lang. I'm like my small joys in life. Like I really love reading them. The
I love
cornier,
Filipino
the
jokes.
cornier, the better as well.
I know. I
Mm,
know. Oh,
yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Anyway, thank you. It was
That's all
so fun.
right. Nice talking to you.
Hang
I'll
on.
talk to you again soon. Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.